of those who have responded. So I don't think there's much more. We've also asked you which level of CFA are you studying? Almost 70% of you, that's 66.6 or zero point 0.7 have chosen CFA level 1. We note here that quite a few number, I think that's 11%, and yeah, almost 11% have chosen level 2 as well as level 3. Yeah, but a vast majority of you have chosen CFA level 1 as your entry point. So it is likely that our talk today will be biased towards CFA level 1, obviously, because a vast majority of you're getting inquiries for the first time to join the CFA program. I'll obviously touch on level 2 and 3 as well. So we make sure it responds to the needs of those who have already passed level 1. That's our assessment of who you are. We can go to the next slide. Okay. And we have asked you, have you attended CFA exams before? Almost 100% of you say that you have not attempted CFA exams. So you're all new to the content, or as it were, to CFA, the journey of studying for the CFA. We've also asked you, how have you been studying by yourself? For those who have been studying, the fact that some of you have marking that you've been studying and you haven't written exams, it means a vast majority of you have been studying most likely by yourself. So 66% of you say you're studying for the first time. Some of you say you're studying through other institutions, and some say self-study. Our hope is that if you've studied through other institutions, you can assess what we are able to do, and you can compare that with the learning experience you got from the other institutions. All right, so we can go to the next slide. Okay. This is an information session. You can call it an online open day. So before we run such a session, part of our mandate is to disseminate information and answer all your questions. Some of you want to study CFA, but you have teething questions that you feel that need to be answered first for you to proceed. So we would typically run a brief survey, ask you a number of questions, ask you to sort of tell us what type of questions you like to be addressed, so that when we prepare our presentation, we make sure we address those things. So I just want to reflect on some of the questions which have come through, because when we present, we'll be trying to address these questions as we go along. The first questions, if you didn't ask any question, you may benefit from those who have asked some questions. The first question says, as someone planning to pursue my honors degree next year, I would like to know how I can effectively kickstart my career whilst balancing academic studies. What practical steps or strategies would you recommend for someone with an interest in finance and investments to gain relevant experience or build a strong foundation for CFA program? It's a very insightful question. It's a broad one, and I can confirm that we've prepared our presentation today to address that. Obviously, if at the end you don't feel it is well addressed, you can always point us to what we have not addressed. The next question says, considering that I initially intended to pursue the CASA route, which requires a cycle-accredited postgraduate diploma in accounting, I am now exploring the CFA designation. Does it matter which honors degree I pursue in terms of aligning with the CFA pathway, or are there specific fields of studies that better complement the CFA curriculum? Okay, we're also going to address that as we go along. If not, again, we're going to recap on these questions. The next one says, are there specific certificates, internships, or part-time roles I can pursue before graduating to align myself with the CFA? That's also another question we'll be addressing. We can go to the next question. Okay, for someone who is considering pursuing a postgraduate study such as a master's or a PhD, how does holding the CFA designation impact the need or value of these additional qualifications? Does having the CFA designation diminish the necessity of pursuing further academic studies, or could postgraduate degrees still provide meaningful advantages in finance or investment career? Very good question. This is not a burning question, but which calculator should I buy? I'm sure we're going to address that. I'm currently doing my articles to become a chartered accountant, CASA. I want to do my CFA after I'm qualified CASA. Is there a way to accelerate the process of becoming a CFA in terms of relevant job training when you are a qualified chartered accountant now or in the near future? Okay, so I think the best way to approach is to just do our presentation, then come back and recap on these questions. I think 80% of the questions are addressed through our presentations, but because we have to come back and revisit these questions, I don't think it's worthwhile reading them all to the end. I've read the first few, so you get a sense that we have a handful of questions, but I'm going to go straight to um, who we are. We are CharterQuest. I'm sure as you can see on the slide there, we CharterQuest, for those of you who are hearing about it for the first time, the name CharterQuest simply means if you are here, it means you have a quest to become chartered. In the area of accounting and finance, there are various chartered professional designations. There are different specialist areas. You can become a chartered financial analyst, a chartered management accountant, a chartered certified accountant. You can become a certified internal auditor. There are very many different chartered designations that you might be pursuing. So CharterQuest basically is a professional education institute which supports you in your quest to become a chartered finance professional in any of these specialist fields. In this case, you are interested in becoming a chartered finance analyst. If at the end of this you find that it's not what you want, you might consider doing CIMA or ACCA with ourselves. So that's basically who we are. We've been operating for, I think it's 15 years now. We founded in 2010. And we have partnerships with various different professional bodies, as well as with QCTO, the regulatory authorities for professional education in South Africa. So on the slides here is basically some idea. We work with CIMA, we work with ACCA, we work with the Institute of Risk Managers, we work with ICB, we are accredited by QCTO, as well as FACET. We use materials published by Kaplan. We also work with BPP. We are also working very closely with CFA itself. We are an exam center for various professional examining bodies. I think that's just a good summary. As you can see that at the top, so in essence, we have over 10 accreditations. There are 15 different qualifications that we support you in. We basically now, CO, I think we need to update this. We are now 15 years in operation, not 13. So we need to update years in operation 15. We were
Yes,
founded in 2010. So just make sure we update that.
yes,
All right,
yes.
we
My
have 4
apologies.
campuses and quite a handful of over 5,000 students. Obviously, not only CFA, a couple of different programs that we run. I think that's a good summary of ourselves. The idea was to introduce you to our understanding of you and help you understand us. We move on now to the crux of our presentation, which hopefully would address a vast majority of your questions. Most of your questions, they're career related. Where do I start? What am I going to be learning? What do I become? And the rest. So I really want to take some time now to really explain what the CFA is all about and what it is not, right? You need to know what it is and what it is not so that you can be in a very strong position to make an informed career decision. So at the top there on my slide, you find they will put there, become your vision. Just take your slide, yes, become your vision. So in other words, if your vision is to become a CFA charter holder, okay, or you want to consider whether that is even worth becoming your vision, this is what we really want to spend some time and talk to you about so you really understand what is involved. Just below that, you find that we've summarized 5 topic areas: equities, fixed income and derivatives, equities, fixed income, private equity, derivatives, and real estate. Now, before even I go forward, I need to outline that these 5 areas are the 5 broad specialist areas that, in other words, what you call specialist areas that if you studied CFA, right? Obviously, there's a fair degree of overlap between these areas. But if you're studying CFA, 99% of those who are studying CFA, they either work in equities. Okay, we're going to talk about equities now. You basically understanding how to invest in listed companies, how to evaluate companies, and deciding whether your client should buy equity in those companies or should positions, that kind of a thing. And then some people also work in fixed income. Fixed income is also another specialist area, which is, I mean, it's a fancy word for debt finance, okay, or bond finance, so to speak. You know, so it's also another specialist area where you really have to master how interest rates affect this. And then there's private equity. How is it different from equities? The first equities you find there is public equities, companies that are listed on the stock market. Private equity is increasing a very vast area. There are a number of companies that are not listed on the stock market. You have private equity investors who are interested in buying companies which are not listed in the equity market. The rules for evaluating such companies, they are slightly different from the rules for evaluating listed companies. Hence, private equity is also another specialist area. And then you have the derivatives, investing in forward contracts, futures contracts, put options and all those instruments which are used to ensure you either hedge your risk, re-engineer the financial activities of a business, take positions to stabilize the portfolio of your investments, those kind of things. That's what you'll be looking at in that area. And then lastly, you have the broad area which is called real estate. I'm sure most of you either own your own houses or you're looking forward to buy houses. There's residential real estate, there's commercial real estate, so that's also another specialist area. So if you were asking, if I wanted to pursue a career in CFA, if I wanted to pursue CFA, where would I end up? Okay, these are, and I'm not saying only these, but broadly, 99% of CFA charter holders, these are the areas where they work. Okay, on the left there vertically are the types of positions. This is just a summary, right? Summary of positions that you can expect to occupy, obviously depending on when you finish your CFA, how much experience you have. You could find yourself being called a consultant. You could find yourself being called a risk officer or a risk manager, depending on your level of experience. You could find yourself being called a research analyst. I mean, each of these positions, they're applicable to all these areas. Yeah? You can be a consultant in equities. You can be a consultant in fixed income. You can find yourself being called a portfolio manager, and you're going to later on understand what each of those roles might entail. Or you could find yourself, just like you have a CEO of a company, the head of an asset management practice will be called a chief investment officer. So that's what we call a C-suite officer. So these are the different types of roles, right? I'm not saying this is exhaustive. There are many different firms out there with different permutations of what types of designations or job titles they give to individuals. But if you study the roles that individuals perform, they largely gravitate around these major topic areas. Okay, so then the next part below is basically giving you some idea to say, okay, well, if you're going to study CFA, you are looking at studying 10 topic areas. Okay, some call it 10 syllabus areas, some call it 10 topic areas, some call it 10 competency areas. So in other words, CFA is saying there are 10 things you need to master in order to be called a chartered financial analyst. The first one is called ethics and professional standards. Okay, that is where you learn the rules. I mean, every profession has its ethical framework: confidentiality, objectivity, integrity of capital markets, how to make sure that when you operate, you don't manipulate the markets. You should allow the markets to determine what is the fair price for various instruments, and there are professional standards, professionalism, how you conduct yourself at work, So a key topic area is the ethics and standards that regulate all professionals. That's something that you need to master. There's quantitative methods. That's where you learn about how to gather data, do statistics using different statistical methodologies or statistical measurements such as mean, median, mode. You should point to quantitative methods. Yeah, there. Mean, median, mode, Sortino ratio, how to, calculate returns, geometric returns, arithmetic returns, different ways of gathering statistics about what's happening in the economy. That's what you learn in part 2, in item 2. Item 3 is economics. Obviously, all investments is done within the framework of an economy. We need to learn microeconomics, macroeconomics. Within microeconomics, you are learning issues like demand and supply, the theory of the firm, the production cycle of firms, how firms, manage their cost structure in order to produce products at the cheapest possible cost, as it were. You're also studying things of macroeconomics, money and banking, interest rates, exchange rates, inflation. You studying those stuff because those are the things that those variables as they shift, they create opportunities and dangers for the capital markets and the rest. So you really be learning economics in its entirety. And then item number 4 is financial statement analysis. That's really where you learn how to read the financial statements of a company. If you have never done accounting, this part actually takes you right from the beginning. What is a debit? What's a credit? What's a balance sheet? What's an income statement? What is a cash flow statement? How do you analyze the performance of the company? Looks at the different elements, the notes to the financial statements, segmental reporting. It puts you in the context of international financial reporting standards, which regulates how accounting is done outside of the US, as well as the GAP, General Agreement on Trade and Tariffs. Sorry, a generally accepted accounting principles, which regulates how accounting is done in the US. So you really learn there from inside out, how to read and master what is going on from the financial statements of a company. And then thereafter, item number 5, that's where you study corporate issuers, okay? It's simply a code name for, uh, if you see the first two areas, equities and fixed income at the top, when companies go out to look for money to raise finance, they're either raising finance as equity. So in other words, if you invest in a company, you're either investing in the company's equity or you're investing in the company's fixed income. So corporate issuers, they are basically referring to the companies, okay, who issue equities and debt. So any company at any given, for as long as a company has equity or debt in its capital structure, it will be called a corporate issuer. So what we are really studying there, you want to understand, but who are companies? What are the different types of companies, right? What are the corporate governance structures that regulate how companies operate? What's the board of directors? What is the audit committee, the remuneration committee? You literally learn who is a corporate issuer. What does it take to go out and raise capital as a form of debt or equity? Because once you go out to raise capital in that form, you're called a corporate issuer. There you go as far as learning the capital structure of a business. When does a business raise debt? When does it raise equity? What is the cost of debt? What is the cost of equity? How do you bring those two to determine the cost of capital of a business? How do you use that capital to evaluate asset investments? What is net present value? What are real options? All those things that corporate issuers, when they go out to issue their equity, what do they do with that money? That's what we'll be studying there. Now, obviously, item number 6 is equity investments. You see, once you understand in item number 5 who is a corporate issuer, you begin to appreciate that they issue two types of things. They issue equity, they issue fixed income. But now, equity and fixed income, they are such a broad topic. There's so much to learn. Okay, if only inside equity, you still have to learn about, before you buy equity, you buy APSA. You see, APSA trades in the stock market, right? You still have to learn about what is the stock market, the Johannesburg stock market, what are market indices, how is the market structure? The market is structured into different indices, the banking index, the banking index, the mining index, the different types of indices that work within the equity market. You also need to understand how equity markets, they measure their performance. Price adjusted performance, free float adjusted performance, market capitalization. There are different methods for measuring the performance of the equity investments. So this part literally says, if you understand who is a corporate issuer and you wanted to invest in their equity, then there's a whole range of knowledge that you need to master to know how to pick stocks and how to understand the markets within which equities investments take place. And similarly, item number 7 is the same thing. If you chose to invest in the debt of a company, then there's a whole topic: interest rates, exchange rates, the price of bond, convexity, how the relationship between the price of bond and interest rates affect the bond markets and all the rest. So you learn that under item number 7, which is fixed income. And then obviously the item number 8 is derivatives. Okay. Now, derivative is a very broad topic. CFA takes a view that if you're investing in item number 6, which is equity investments, and investing in item number 7, which is fixed income, you are gradually building a portfolio, and you cannot build a portfolio without picking in derivatives, because derivatives are the instruments that you're going to use to hedge, right? To protect those equity investments and fixed income from falling prices, rising prices, and all the rest. So you go into the topic of derivatives in item number 8. You learn about what's a derivative. You structure them into contingency derivatives, forward contracts, futures contracts, option contracts, time value of derivatives, all those instruments, how they work and how they are packaged, to manage the risks. Okay, also to generate returns for your portfolio. And then item number 9 is called alternative investments. Yes, CFA is basically saying, okay, the real investment are not just equity and fixed income. In other words, if you look at 6, 7, and 8, if you are putting your money, you're either putting your money in either equity investments, which is item number 6, or fixed income, which is item number 7, or derivatives. But number 9 is saying there are many other types of investments beyond just item number 5, 6, and 7. So in other words, if I chose to not put my money in equity investments, which is item number 6, or not put my money in fixed income, which is item number 7, or not put my money in derivative, which is item number 8, there are other alternative investments I could put my money in. What are these alternative investments? Okay, real estate, for instance, will be studied there. Commodities will be studied. And by commodities, I'm going as far as gold, mining, copper, and all the rest, petroleum resources, timber, and all those things. Or if you can go as far as even bitcoins, digital coins, crypto assets, and all the. So all other alternative investments, which are not equity investment, fixed income, and derivatives, that is what CFA packages and calls them alternative investments. Okay. Number 10 then takes a view that if you have learned everything from number 1 to 9, then ultimately to invest means you build a portfolio, right? You're going to analyze different instruments, but when you bring them into a portfolio, how do they interact? You can invest in Absa and Vodacom. It looks fine. But when you put those two in one portfolio, the characteristics might be different from the characteristics of the individual assets. So in item number 10, you literally learn how do you combine different asset classes into a portfolio. When you take them, you bring them. How do you calculate the returns of a portfolio? How do you calculate the risk of a portfolio? How do you pick the optimal portfolio? So those are the things that you are learning in item number 10. And obviously, CFA wants to be sure that at the end you have practical skills. So you can learn all these things, you pass your exams, but part of the competencies that you need to build, you need to prove that you have practical skills, which I'm going to talk about in the next slides when I go forward. But as a summary, right, what I've given you from 1 to 10 is some very high level in terms of the competency areas, things you'll be studying. On the left, sorry, on the right, you find there we have the level 1, level 2, and level 3. You have some percentages there. They are just giving you some indication. Now, these 10 areas, they are the same 10 areas you study from level 1 to level 2, level 3. The difference is that the weighting changes. For instance, in level 1, ethics and professional standards is 15 to 20%. It drops slightly. In level 2, 10 to 15. In level 3, it stays at 15 to 20. Quantitative methods in level 1 is 6 to 9% of the overall weighting. In level 2 is 5 to 10%. By the time you get to level 3, everything that you need to master would have been mastered. So quantitative methods is not directly examined in level 3. You have economics in level 1. It accounts for 6 to 9% of your exam. In level 2, it accounts for 5 to 10. In level 3, it also accounts for 5 to 10. You find that financial statement analysis seems to account for the biggest in level 1. Financial statement analysis 11 to 15, 14%. It normally competes with ethics in terms of weighting. So CFA puts a lot of weight on this. But by the time you get to level 3, you would have covered everything. So some of the topic areas, they are emphasized in level 1. As you're going towards level 3, there's less and less emphasis. Some of them are not as emphasized in level 1. Take, for instance, the last one, portfolio management. In level 1 is just 8 to 12%. But as you go towards the top, in level 3, you see it becomes almost 35 to 40%. So some syllabus areas are very important in level 1. But as you go towards level 3, they become less and less important. Some of them are less important instead in level 1. As you move towards the top, they become more and more important. I mean, these differences in importance is what I'm going to talk about to in the very next slide. It reflects the three levels, right? The three levels of skills, levels of analytical ability that CFA is trying to make sure that you grasp. I think that's basically a good summary of this page here. So we can go to the very next one. Now, no, you're a bit too fast. Let's go step this. Yeah, okay. Good. Thanks for that. If you look on the far left, you will find the 10 syllabus areas. So, oh, sorry, I should say far right, because on my screen, when I'm facing you, is far left for me. That might be far right for you, depending on how you face. Yeah. So, yeah, where the cursor is right is those 10 areas. Okay, so I'm not going to go back. I've given you some high-level summary of the 10 areas. At the center, you have a triangle, a big blue triangle. You've noticed that we've partitioned that triangle into three compartments. There's a first compartment on the far right. We call it CFA level 1. Okay, there you are trying to master investment tools. Just above that, we call it CFA level 2. You're trying to make operational investment decisions. Okay, right above that, you call it CFA level 3. You are trying to make strategic investment decisions. So ultimately, you are learning how to make investment decisions, right? If you look there at the top, what type of decisions are you trying to make? If you look there at the top, it says, I'm trying to make long, short, or hold decision. Long means buy. Short means sell. Hold means neither buy nor sell, right? So ultimately, when I say long, I'm not talking about long in terms of long term and short term. So in finance, if I say I've taken a long position, it means I've entered a position to buy. If I say I've taken a short position, it means I've taken a decision to sell. Okay, so there are three types of decisions you are learning to make. What to buy and when to buy. That is to make long decisions. What to sell and when to sell. That is to make short decisions. What to hold and for how long you should continue to hold. So the whole syllabus, all those 10 areas on the far left I talked about, they are trying to teach you three things: how to make long, which is buy; short, which is sell; and hold, which is to retain that particular asset. In other words, neither buy it nor sell it in your portfolio. How to make those decisions. And if you see that on the right, we have the risk and return, right? So the whole syllabus, whether you're going to buy or sell, it comes down to two things. Returns, how much will I make? Risk, what is the danger I might not make that money? So there are just two things. The whole CFA syllabus is just teaching you how to understand, quantify, measure, manage risk. How to understand, quantify, measure, and manage returns. Now, the three, it goes very broad, right? But as you're going from level 1 to 3, you realize that all you're really studying is just two things. Because at the end of the day, why are you investing? Is to make returns. What will cause you to not make the returns? It is risk. So if you understand returns very, very well, you understand risks very, very well, then you are a good investor, right? You can decide when to buy, when to sell, when to hold. So at the top of the pyramid, that's really what we're trying to teach you. All CFA they have tried to do now is to say, okay, how do we make sure that when you come out, you can make long, short, or hold investment decision? We're going to split the triangle into three halves. If you go to the bottom, it says knowledge and comprehension. Okay, so what CFA is trying to say is in level 1, we're just going to focus on giving you knowledge and understanding of investment tools. All the tools you're going to need, right? The different techniques, we're just going to give you the knowledge to understand what they are. Now, if you're coming with a background in accounting and finance from your previous studies, you probably find that some of the knowledge you already have. But our focus in level 1 is to give you some understanding of all the tools you will need. Now, when you go to level 2, just go straight. We shift from knowledge to application. Remember, you can know something, you can understand something, but they say, okay, now apply it to this scenario. We have this situation. Apply that knowledge to this situation, and you find that you are not able to do it. So level 2 is saying, how do we convert this knowledge and understanding to application? Now, application in what? Asset valuation. Please underline for me asset valuation. Okay. Now, why are we underlining this? All investment means you are trying to buy some asset or to sell some asset or to keep some asset. You cannot be investing and you're not talking about buying some asset or selling some asset, or you can be selling some asset in order to raise money to buy another asset. But all investment requires you to buy some asset, sell some asset, or hold some asset. So asset valuation, you cannot buy something if you're not able to value it. You cannot sell something if you're not able to value it. You cannot decide whether you should hold something if you're not able to value it. So all knowledge and comprehension which you get in level 1, in level 2 then says, let's take it and learn how you can use it to value any type of asset. If it's fixed income, how do we value it? If it is equity, how do we value it? If it's commodities, how do we value it? If it's derivative instrument, how do we value it? If it's a forward contract, how do we value it? If it's real estate, how do we value it? If it's bitcoins, how do we value it? So it's literally just takes everything you've learned in level 1 and say, okay, it means nothing if you know all these things, but you cannot use it to value different assets. So it goes deep into how the knowledge and understanding you've gained in level 1, how that is applied to value an asset. Obviously, if you value an asset, you find that it is undervalued, you buy it. If you find that it is overvalued, you will sell it. If you find that it is fairly valued, you will hold it, right? So what we are trying to learn in level 2 is, how do we know if an asset is undervalued so we can buy? You see the long there at the top. How do we know an asset is undervalued so we can buy it? How do we know that it is overvalued so we can go short on it? And how do we know that it is fairly valued so we can hold it? Okay, those are things we are learning in level 2. Now, obviously, when you pass level 2, you go to level 3, the emphasis shifts to synthesis and evaluation. Now, we're saying you have the knowledge, which is in level 1, you can apply it, which is level 2. But now, if we bring everything together, right? In level 2, they'll be asking how do you value this one? How do you, in level 3, they'll put it all together. Now, because when you don't buy individual assets, okay, even if you value individual assets and buy them or sell them in level 2, they'll be, if you buy them, you're adding them into your portfolio. If you sell them, you're selling them from the portfolio. So what level 3 really tries to do is to say, okay, since we can value assets, we have to understand that when we buy the assets, they will come into our portfolio. When we sell the assets, they will come out from our portfolio. So how do we synthesize? How do we bring everything together? We have the knowledge, we can value the asset, but if we put them all together in a portfolio, do we know what would happen in that portfolio? So synthesis is like, how do you bring it all together and evaluate and make the decisions which will impact your portfolio over the long term? Okay, so another way to see it is in level 1, you are learning about immediate decisions. What decision you buy today and sell tomorrow. In level 2, you are learning more about medium-term decisions. In level 3, you are really learning about long-term decisions. By that, I'm talking about if your client is an investor, is setting money aside to send the kids to school in 10, 15 years' time, and you need to build a portfolio for that client, a portfolio of investments for that client right now. You know, I see somebody is asking, are you going to share the recording? I'm sure, yes, of course. Lesego is asking, are you going to share? Of course, I'm sure we are recording it precisely so we can share that later on. So I think that's basically in level 3. You can put the next item now. Yeah, so if you're looking at this and you're saying, okay, I'm interested in this thing, I just want to give you some guidance. You see there's the next we've put there. Now, in level 1, if you're interested in coming to level 1, you can see that we see level 1. There are 4 exams a year: February, May, August. So you write CFA exams 4 times a year: February, May, August, and November. You find the one we put there in red, it is August. Why is it red? The open day information session we are doing today is to share for those who want to do CFA, is to say, I'm sure my colleague would present on that part, is to say our class is about to start. It's probably in about 2 weeks' time. Is to prepare students to write the August exams. Okay. Some schools will tell you, oh, you can do it very quickly. Okay, there's another question there. I'm sure we can deal with questions. CEO, let me just finish the presentation. I see there are a lot of questions coming on this thing. I would like to take the questions at the end. All right. So some schools will tell you that no, you can do CFA in 3 months. Please do not be fooled. We've tried 3 months per level, it hasn't worked. We've tried 5 months, it hasn't worked. Even though CFA is saying you can write exams 4 times a year, don't jump and think that every quarter I can just write one exam, finish in 1 year. This is a very, very challenging qualification. So you can see we have clearly put there, we want to start this semester, is late January, but we want to take full 6 months. We take full 6 to 7 months to prepare you to complete a level. So our August there says if we are starting now or in 2 weeks' time, we are aiming to prepare you to write exams in August, right? Those who are writing in May, they already started with our third semester last year. For those who are writing in May this year, we already started teaching them from October last year. So we normally take 6 to 7 months. I know there are schools that will tell you we can take 4 months. They're going to maybe charge you slightly lower and they will just rush over the program. You'll be overwhelmed. That is our experience from, almost 15 years running with that. But in any event, but again, if you can't join us for August exams now, I think we have another session which is going to start in about 3 months. That's for November exams. So we try and spread our start dates to respond to different exam cycles. But the one we are talking about right now is in August. As for your exams, you have when you're ready to write your exams, okay, you book your exams with CFA. It's a 2 hour, 15 minutes exams. Essentially writing multiple choice, especially level 1 and 2. In the morning, you go there, there's a morning exam, there's an afternoon exam. You come there in the morning, you sit in the exam center, you answer 90 multiple choice questions. In the afternoon again, you answer another 90 multiple choice questions. Each exam paper is 2 hours, 15 minutes. You write the two. Couple of weeks after CFA publishes your results, you know whether you've succeeded or you've not made it. You will see something there in red. It's called PSM, Practical Skills Management. So CFA is not now. Before, it was just passing your exams and then you submit your work experience. Work experience is still required, but CFA wants to know that you can apply practically what you've learned. So CFA has 2 areas in level 1, which says even after you've passed your exams, you can either take it's an online thing. You do it with CFA financial modeling. Obviously, part of the course is A level will teach you financial modeling, but you have to show CFA that you can apply that thing in practice. So you can either take one of the 2 areas, practical skills in financial modeling, or you can take Python programming fundamentals. Okay, so it's almost the same thing. You go to level 2, right? Level 2 also, you can see that at the top, level 2 exams are only 3 times a year, February, May, and November, as you can see there. Again, similarly to level 1, it's a 2 hour, 15-minute exams, all multiple choice, you know. But unlike here where you are answering 90 multiple choice questions, in level 2, they are basically essay type questions. They are still multiple choice, but they'll give you an extended scenario. For each scenario, they'll ask you about 4 questions or 5 questions, but they are still in essence multiple choice. Then after that, you also need to take up practical skills again. Okay, there are 3 areas that CFA is recommending. You can either take practical skills in analyst skills, Python, data science, and artificial intelligence, okay, or Python programming fundamentals. You can take any one of those areas. Level 3 again is almost very similar. The difference now in level 3 is, like I said, the focus is on portfolio management. There you only have exams twice a year, only in May as well as in August. Okay, so you're also going to have multiple choice exams and a bit of what is called constructed response. Just underline constructed response. So in the morning, it's a constructed response simply means online level 1, level 2, where you just read the question, you select the right answer. Constructed response, you actually have to write the answer. They'll give you a short scenario. They'll ask you, according to this analyst must select this particular company. Do you agree? You have to say, yes, I agree. You explain why. You have to literally write out your answer. That's what is called constructed response, as well as multiple choice. So I think that's in essence what the CFA is all about. So I think that was the part of my presentation, but I noticed that a few questions have come up during this part. So can you just read for me? I'm going to pause a bit. I know there are questions and answers planned, but for my own part, I want to answer, CEO, if you permit me, I want to answer all my own questions now, so that if I step out, I know that on your agenda there's question and answer at the end. Can I take questions and answers that relate to what I've presented? So you can then continue with your presentation, then take questions and answers on the part that you have presented. Is that fine? If or it's gonna mess up with your plan?
You can use the next 8 minutes because my part, I'm a bit behind, but I think in the 8 minutes we can use to answer questions in the chat box and your burning questions.
Okay, so that's it's ambitious, a lot of questions. Okay, let's start with the ones which have come up. Can you read from the chat box? What are the questions? The first one is from Zenat Kutha. It says, is there a certain time gap that we would have to take between go back to that question. It says, is there a certain time gap? The question has come off the screen. Can you put it back?
I can see it on my side. I don't mean.
Okay, just read it for me. I can't see it anymore. Read it.
Is there, okay, there's a first one before that one from Zenet. So I'll start. Is there if level 3 is in regards to wealth planning, what is the key differences between financial planners and CFAs?
All right. That's a good one. There's an overlap. There's clearly an overlap. There's another qualification called CFP. You can either become a certified financial planner or you become a chartered financial analyst. Okay, this is how you're going to. A financial planner, right, is more on planning the personal finances of an individual. Okay, it is much more narrow. Financial planners will work with FNB, wealth management, ABSA capital wealth management. They will deal with individual salaries. You're working for a company, you earn your salary, how to plan the finances of your clients who want to save for retirement, they want to save to send their child to school. That's what, so CFP designation, I'm not saying that it is only that, right? But in terms of focus, when you're a certified financial planner, okay, your space is more wealth management, helping individual clients, to plan their finances, planning for retirement, planning for your child going to school, planning for, to own a house, planning for those type of things. But when you do CFA, it is much broader. If you see now on this thing, right, wealth management is only at the top. You see at the top, it says portfolio and wealth management. So financial planners, they focus on wealth management, right? I'm not saying that's the only thing they do. CFA is a lot broader, right? Because for instance, CFA will go into digital assets like cryptocurrencies. It will go into the depth of analyzing the capital structure of a company. When you're a certified financial planner, you will learn about the capital structure of a company, but you will learn it basically from the viewpoint to say, look, a company's got debt, it's got equity, just to know that this is how debt and equity interact, right? But if you do CFA, because you could end up being a risk manager, you could end up specializing in equities, you could end up specializing in derivatives, you could end up becoming a finance director of a company. There are companies that are listed on the stock market. They will rather hire for their financial director. They will not hire a CASA. They will not hire a CIMA. They will hire a CFA. Why? Because they know that you understand capital markets, right? You understand how to position the company in the capital market. So if you're asking what is the difference, certified financial planner is much more narrow. You could put in terms of you advising individual clients on how to save their money, how to build their wealth, to send children to school, to prepare for retirement. Whereas CFA is a lot broader, it includes that same, how to advise clients to save money for retirement, but it goes much more broader, understanding the risk and the dynamics of the capital markets. So I would say that is the difference. I know you could go into that a lot more, but I hope that summary helps you. What's the next question there?
Is there a certain time gap that we would have to take between level 1 and level 3?
No, unless they've updated. I know that CFA used to have, I just need to check if that is still the case. Before, as of 3 years ago, they had a time gap of 10 years. You have 10 years from the time you start CFA level 1. You have 10 years to take it all the way. So if you do level 1, you can wait 2 years, come back. So there's a time gap of 10 years. I'm not aware that CFA has removed that time gap. If anything, I'm not aware if there's still 10 years or whether they have removed it. But I'm sure that for anybody who is serious about CFA, you can't be studying the same qualification for 10 years. I mean, even if you're doing a doctorate, it's much shorter than 10 years. So I would say if you're worried about time gap, work with 10 years, but knowing that you can, there are people who finish in 18 months. I hope that answers the question. What's the next question?
Why is the pass rate so low? I guess the
Why?
average 10-year pass rate. Why
Okay,
is it
why is
so
the
low?
pass rate okay, why is the pass rate so low? It comes down to, guys, it's a good question, right? Okay, beautiful. Expand that so everybody should see. That's the average pass rate, level 1, 47. Is that 41, 47, 45, 52%? Guys, if you want to know why the pass rate, just open open even CASA, the local charter accounting qualifications. When things are very, very good, it's sitting almost like 55% and the rest. Generally, chartered professional designations, every professional body is trying to, these professional bodies are created to demonstrate that there is excellence in their profession. If you choose to become a chartered accountant, you choose to become a CFA, you are trying to prove that you have a certain level of excellence, which is, it's amongst the cream of the top in that profession everywhere in the world. So as a result, most of these chartered professional designations, they set the standard so high, okay, so that when you cross that bar, remember, a profession, it's a sign of, it's a symbol of your reputation. If something is so common, everybody becomes a chartered accountant, it will lose value. I'm not saying they are deliberately making people to fail. No. The standards to excel, the clients, the industry expects high level of professionalism. So the professional bodies, they respond by setting the competency at a very, very high level. They also set the exams at a very, very high level, and they put the pressure on us, the schools, to teach and help the students to do well. Now, these are overall pass rates. Some people study by themselves. If you look, for instance, inside CharterQuest, you look at this 41%, you find that inside Charter, our own pass rate is about 68%, almost 20 percentage point above the global pass rates. So for those who attend classes, for instance, we have classes, we're preparing for the exams and all the rest, they end up doing very well, right? So you have a 68 to 75% chance of passing your exams first time if you're studying with CharterQuest. But these are global pass rates. So some people go to school, some people study by themselves. If you combine the fact that one, CFA is rigorous as said by the professional body, two, a vast majority of those who are studying, they are working full time, so they hardly get chance to study. Three, a lot of people, they don't get reputable tuition providers. All those combine to make the pass rates to not be what be what they could be. But I can tell you that overall, pass rates in all chartered exams, they are generally very, very low to represent the level of exceptionalism and the level of effort that is required to do well. All right, any other question?
In the chat box, we don't have any more questions.
Okay, there are still some questions here that we haven't answered. Let's just browse through. Please permit me. Let me just browse through quickly. Okay. Fina said, thank you for your fantastic explanation. Or you want to take it up?
I have a few things to cover, and I'm worried that some may want to drop off before we finish off at that time.
Okay, that's fine.
I
I'll
don't know
leave you
if
to
I
cover
can
your.
just.
I'll leave you to cover your part. These questions that we have, do we have the individual students? We have the students who send them, right?
Yes, we do. But my part, I might not take more than 20 minutes. Is it fine if I can just run with it?
Okay, go with your part.
Then we can come
Get to
back to
question
the
and answers.
questions.
I can come back to my. I wanted to step out, but I'm going to wait so that we exhaust all the questions.
All right, sure. I will not take much time.
Okay, sure.
All right. Thank you for being with us, and also your questions. I think they are very insightful, and we are able to see that you are very eager to get started with the CFA. So my part, I'm going to talk about how you can register with the CFA, with CharterQuest, our fees, our timetables. So again, as we continue, please do feel free to ask questions in the chat box. So you're probably asking yourself, what next after this? So the CFA has got a few processes. Just before I go into this, you need to pass the exams, right? As Dr. T has taken us through, there are 3 levels. And then after this, you need to complete the CFA professional work experience. So it's about 4,000 hours. But if you translate it to years, you're looking at 3 years of practical experience, and you need to be with an employer. So remember, you are passing your exam. You are also taking those practical skills modules. And on those practical skills modules from level 1 to level 3, right? You need to take at least 1 per each level. So you do not get your CFA results if you do not take the practical skills modules. So it's very important for you to note, students are always asking, when can I take that practical skills module? And you can take it anytime. It is a self-study module. In your CFA account, you'll be able to log in and take those practical skills modules. And above that, now that you've got these practical skills modules, right? Even with your level 1, you can then start getting your work experience. Afterwards, there's a process where you submit it on the CFA website, and then you are signed off as a charter holder. So please, as you're planning, just note that there's this 3 years work experience that you'll be required to complete, and over and above passing your exams, completing your practical skills modules, which you need to complete at every level, anytime, but you need to do it in order to get your results for each level. Previously, it was only level 1 and level 2 that was required to do this practical skills modules, but effective from this year, February, even level 3 will be required. So let's just go straight into the costs. And you probably want to know, how much does this cost? What is required from you? So the first thing you need to do is to register with the CFA on their website. So as you go, you're going to have 2 profiles as a student, should you study with us. There's the one you create with the professional body. Then there's the one you create with us as CharterQuest. So you will create your account on the CFA website. The CFA will require a $350 payment. It's a once-off registration fee to say, I now belong to this professional body. You will get a student ID number and the likes. Then CFA requires you to commit to an exam at the same time you are registering. So you're looking at then your once-off investment at that time is this exam fee of $990 plus $350 at the same time, right? You cannot just pay the $350 on its own. This needs to be paid at once. So CFA will require you to commit to an exam sitting at that point. It also depends. If you are on time, you will pay the $990. So at this point, if you're taking the August exam, you can pay $990 by 29th of January, right? But let's say you are late, you will then pay the standard registration fee. The exam registration fee is $1,290. If you're taking the exam in November, the dates will shift slightly. So these are available on the CFA website at any time. You'll be able to set your exam seating. So you then determine, okay, I want to take the August exam. You take. I want to take the November exam. You then decide, and then just plan ahead of time. I mean, this is a saving of almost about $300. So you can just see how it will take as a student. It already covers your initial registration fee here. Then let's say the next time you want to now take the exam level 2, or maybe it doesn't go well, you want to rewrite, you will no longer pay this $350. You will only be paying the exam fee. So that's what you're looking at. In the event that you then decide you want to reschedule your exam, maybe instead of August, I want to now take it in November. Before the registration closes, you can then reschedule your appointment within your exam window. But afterwards, after the 18th of November, you can't move this exam. So you can pay 250, but the CFA also needs to approve. So you just need to plan ahead of time, ensure that things are going on right, and benefit from these. So that's why you're on this session. I know some of you might not be joining right away. You want to plan your funds, you want to have everything in order. I just hope that this helps you. So after you register with the CFA, you get support from them. There are resources, there are other things that are happening. You'll be able to register. You then come to register with us for classes. Other students are always asking, can I come to you for classes and then register with the CFA later? Yes, you can. So that's one question I always get from students. So yes, you can register with us for classes, then you can join the CFA, as long as you know that you meet the entry requirements. And what are those entry requirements? So I'm just going to go straight into them now. So you need to hold a bachelor's degree. So in South Africa, this is our NQF level 7. Going upwards, a 3-year bachelor's degree. It can also be an honors. It can also be, anything higher. That's fine. But at minimum, it must be at bachelor's level. Or you can be in your 2nd year of study. So this is obviously 23 months before you finish. You can start the CFA. You will be allowed to take the level 1 exam if you join via the 2nd option. But your level 2 exam will not open. CFA will need to see your completed qualification here, and then you can take your level 2 exam and continue. So they've given students this leeway to get started, even though you are still studying your bachelor's, your honors, or whatever qualification, as long as it is above a bachelor's level. You can also join with work experience. So it doesn't really need to be investment related, but CFA, they've got a new tool on their website where you can go there, check the work experience that is needed, and you'll be able to see exactly where you will start. I will also share the link in the chat box. You also are required to have a valid passport. So when you go to the exam venue, you're required to have a passport. So how do the exams work? CFA has got exam centers. So in your city, you just need to check. In South Africa, we do have, we're a participating country. So students are able to take their exams at major cities. So you just need to check, okay, I'm in Mpumalanga, I don't have a center, where can I go? So you then have to check on the website. I know there's Joburg, Cape Town, Durban. The CFA has been working very well to put more exam centers. But at the exam center, you need to have a passport, not an ID, an international travel passport. So just make sure that if you're planning to study, you then make that trip to the Home Affairs to apply for your passport. All the exams are in English, and when you register, you need to complete this professional conduct statement. Dr. T spoke about, what is required from you as a chartered accountant or a CFA member. So all of that is something that you need to do as you proceed. So I'm just going to share with you this link where you can get more information on what I've just presented, right? And then you would be able to go through this information. Okay, perfect. So let me now continue with my all right. So apologies, this was supposed to be 2025, but we've already touched on the exam sitting options, so I'm not gonna go much around it. Just know that when you take your exams, you get your result. If it's level 1 or 2, results will come within 5 to 7 weeks from when you'd have taken. Level 3, they take about 8 weeks. That's almost 2 months from when you would have completed. Everything else we have covered, so I'm not going to take much time here. And then the exam duration also, I'm not going to take much time. Dr. T has covered this, but just note that there will be 90 questions per each session. And this is almost the type of questions that you will face. Level 2, again, you did indicate you get more of a scenario, so that's what you'll see. And then these are the multiple choice questions that you expect. Level 3, those are the ones that he did mention. Remember when you have to answer the long response, the constructive response questions, determine, discuss, explain. So that's what you will face there. Then I've spoken about, okay, now we're going to our study options, our intakes. How does it work, right? In terms of our classes and the likes. So level 1, we've got 3 intakes. This January intake, which classes start in February. And we've got May classes, we've got September. So if you join now, we call it the January intake, so classes will start in Feb. So if you start in January, you are looking at taking your exam in August or in November. So you can then decide to say, okay, let me just wait and then I'll take my class in August, or let me just wait, I'll take my class in November. And then my exam in November. So which means that you finish your classes around July, and then you can use the difference in time to study. Then you can join in May, and in May, you are aiming to take the exam in November, because these classes will finish around end of October, thereabout. Or you can wait and take the exam in February or May. But we always recommend our students to say, try to aim for the next exam sitting just after you finish your classes, so that your content is still fresh, you still get support from your lecturer instead of dragging along. Then there's September, you then wait and then you can take your exam in May. Level 2 is the same again. We've got 1 intake. So remember, Dr. Nsi mentioned we've got 4 exam sittings, right? So the first, we've got 4 exam sittings, but now we don't have classes for each sitting. So that's why we only have these 3 sittings, but we then try to make sure that they align with the 4 exam sessions from CFA. Level 2 doesn't have a lot, so we only have one intake, and it's aiming November exams, January, also for level 3, it's aiming for the August sitting. So there is a lot of interest under level 1. I think we could also see from your feedback. Level 2 and 3, there's lower interest. There's also not a lot of students. I mean, you could see with the pathways and progression as well. So we don't have a lot of intakes there. So that's why we've got 1 intake on under each. Our payment options, you can pay us 20% deposit and you can pay the balance over 6 months. You also have an option to apply for a bank loan from Standard Bank SA or from Capitec Education Finance. So you can then apply for a bank loan, and these institutions can support you. We can see already there is about $1,300 or $1,500 that you need to pay. Is quite a lot of money. So if you're unable to pay it within our installment option, you can go with these guys for longer repayment periods, like 74 months, 80 months, and the likes. And if you bank with Standard Bank, for example, you get preferential interest rates. Our classes, they run online, they also run on campus, and we also do have pre-recorded classes or self-study option for those who feel like I can't make it every week. I can only take pre-recorded classes. That is fine. So these are just the funding options I've given you. We do have discounts as well, up to 12%, but this is for students who are attending on campus. But if you're attending online, we have already discounted our fees. So on our website, you will see these, but I'm going to take you through so that you just get a sense of our fees. So we've got from level 1 to level 3, our fees are the same. It's 23,500 per level. So which means if you're doing level 1 with us this year, you pay 23,500. This is for a student coming to CharterQuest in Gauteng and attending classes. Then if you are live streaming from anywhere, so if you're not in Gauteng, or even if you're in Gauteng, but you prefer to do everything from home, that is the option that you have. So you pay 17,000 Rand, and this is per level. So which means then this year you might come for level 1, you come back for level 2, you come back for level 3. Then what do you get? Sorry, we've got this one in the middle, our exam preparation package only. So this package is only for somebody who says, I want to come to you for exam revision. So that's what you'll be joining, and I'll explain briefly at the bottom. So if you are a TEP student, you've got an option to live stream. So if you can't make it to campus maybe in that week, you can live stream from home, or you can live stream only. So it all depends with you. But the TEP student, you have more benefits and flexibility as well. So as I just continue with this, what do you get if you're a TEP student, a student who's attending online? So you will get about 50 tuition classes. You will get about 2 to 8 revision classes. Our classes, they run on a 3-hour session per each class. But we then have sometimes twice, sometimes 3 times a week. Dr. T did indicate that you've got classes running over about a 6 months period. There is a lot to cover. There is a lot in those 10 syllabus areas. So you then cover the first 50 classes over this period, and we ensure we complete the syllabus. Sometimes we even go beyond these 50 classes, more than this 150 hours. So you find that you might have 2 or even 3 sessions in a week. We also give you study materials. So even though you will get resources on the CFA website, right? When you register, you also have access to what they call the CFA ecosystem, where you have a lot of questions in that $350 that you register and that exam fee. CFA will give you some resources. We also give you resources. So we will give you some study notes. So these notes are broken down into areas that you will understand very well. So these are provided by UWorld. It used to be Wiley, if you know, it used to be Wiley back in the day. So they are broken down into 6 syllabus areas. I mean, 6 books. So it's those 10 syllabus areas that we have gone through earlier. So these are broken down, it's almost 2 per book. So we will say book 1, we cover maybe 2 topics or 2 syllabus areas. So we will then give you these. So these are all electronic, whether you are online or you are on campus, you get these. You get practice resources as well from UWorld, where you go in, there are practice mock exams. All our classes are recorded, and you get also the lecturer's slides. So you are able to go through these at your own pace, or in case you miss a class, you are able to catch up. We will give you mock exams. So we want to make sure that you have a lot of practice before your exam. So you get about 3 to 9 mock exams. Also in the UWorld access and in the CharterQuest portal, you also have a lot of practice questions to try and cover. So imagine attending your classes, going through the resources in your CFA account, going through the CQ question banks, going through the questions that you also have in your UWorld account. There's quite a lot, and you should be able to pass these exams first time. Then you will get some flashcards that will be more of revision. So this is also is going to be in your UWorld account. So you now have the CFA account, you now have the CQ account, you now have the UWorld student account, where you will go in and use those resources. Then there was a question about the calculator, which I'm just going to answer at the same time. So CFA has got a calculator policy. So they have this Texas Instruments as one of the calculators. So that is what we provide, but we only provide these to on-campus students. But even if you're live stream, even though you don't get it, you're able to just purchase this. So on their websites, they've got the policy and the list of calculators that they allow. So you need to use the specific CFA recommended calculator in your exam and even in your studies, because you start practicing, and the way you calculate the formulas and everything, you really need to get that right. So we do have support, the lecturer support via our WhatsApp groups, emails. So during office hours, your lecturers will be there, admin will be there. Sometimes even at night, if you post a question, we'll be there to support you. On-campus students, they also get this customized student file. So it's a branded CFA file. You get it from us. You are then able to slot in your notes. So you will print your own notes. We will load everything on our student portal. Then you come in to print everything in there. So this is for a TEP student, right? A student coming on campus. That's why it's a little bit expensive because of the value that you get. Then a student who's revising only, maybe you have studied this on your own, but you feel like I failed, I need to go to an exam prep provider. So you come to us for revision classes, and then you get revision questions. So you can see anything that relates to revision questions, mock exams, that's what you get from us. But otherwise, a live stream student almost gets the same as a TAP student, meaning you get your classes, but the only thing is that you're not physical at campus, you're not seeing the lecturer, but you probably see him online or you interact with him online. Your books are ebooks as well as this TAP student. As I said, all the books are electronic, but you've got the same mock resources here, except the CFA file and the calculator, but otherwise everything else is exactly the same. This is our timetable. If you join now in February, so you will start here and then you'll finish towards July. If you had gotten a previous timetable, there was a bit of an error where classes are overlapping the August exam, but we rectified it. We also sent the updated timetable to our students earlier today. So you should have gotten that updated timetable, and I sincerely apologize for that error that was on our website. So you will start your classes on the 15th. Then remember we said book 1 to 6, right? So this covers book 1. There are about 2 topics covered here. Then you take a test. The test is open over 7 days. You will then use time in those 7 days to then find the specific slot that works for you. I know this test is about, I think, 90 minutes or thereabouts. So each you will get a calendar that shows what test you're facing, how much time you're going to need. So during that 7-day period, the test will open, check it at your best convenient time, and then you self-mark so you know your results instantly. Because remember, it's multiple choice questions. Then we come back to class. We're now focusing on book 2, right? Here, it's now book 2. Then you cover your book 2. If you notice, there's class on Wednesday, there's class on Thursday. So your classes will start on a Saturday. We come back during the week. So it's going to be evenings and weekends. Weekends is 8 to 11. During the week, it's 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. So we will start, we will continue here on Wednesday. If we did a topic here, maybe we left it halfway or we didn't finish, this class is a continuation of the previous class. So it's not like you've got an option to attend weekends only or evenings. You really need to be disciplined to attend your weekend class, attend the midweek sessions, Wednesday, Thursday, follow through. If you miss a Wednesday, you need to watch the recording before the next class. Or if even if it's Wednesday, Thursday, we will upload the classes, then you need to just catch up before your next session. So this happens between book 1, book 2, I think until book 3 thereabouts. But you will find that as we go, because we just started a bit late this semester, you will have 1 session a week. But if your lecturer needs more time, he will definitely be in touch with you. So we are focused on making sure that you pass. Our classes are exam focused. We make sure that you get the best out of these sessions. So again, from class 18 to 26, we are focusing on book 3. You get an assessment. So these assessments, they really help you to check if you are understanding and you are on track with your studies. Your lecturer will be there. If he realizes that everyone failed test 3, he's able to come back, help you to refresh and ensure that you understand everything. Then there's your test 4, again, book 4, same thing, test 5. Then when we come here, we start giving you a pre-mock and we give you a final mock. So this final mock is just like that 2 session. Remember the session 1, 2 hours, 15 minutes, session 2, 2 hours, 15 minutes. So this final mock on this day is 1 day. We all make sure that you have taken that. You meet your lecturer if necessary, or if there's anything that's needed. Your lecturer will slot in sessions and ensure that you are on track. So the good thing is Dr. T is also the lecturer for this course. So he really takes his time to explain all the concepts the way he has been explaining everything in the syllabus, which is very good. So on that being said, Dr. T, can I hand over to you? Then I'll just check my questions in the chat box. Then you can address the burning questions that we had. And thank you for your kind understanding. Over to you.
All right, thank you. So I see there are questions on your side. You say after my own, you answer the questions which have come up on yours. Am I right?
I think I'll answer mine in the chat box. That's fine. The ones coming now.
Sorry?
I will answer mine in the chat box, but I do believe my team would have also addressed the questions in the chat box. So you can go ahead with our burning questions. Then I will be checking the chat box to answer what has come during my presentation. But I do believe the team moderating might have answered those questions. Hello, can you hear me? It seems we lost Dr. T there. Tim, can you hear me? Okay, I think we lost Dr. T. I think I will just check on the questions. I thought Tinashe, are we not answering questions? All right. So, okay. Zanette, I think I touched on our fees. I hope that has clarified your question. Sorry, it was almost at the end, and I'm glad that I managed to go through them. Dimple is asking, how does one prove that they are self-funded to qualify? So you just select on our website. You don't have to prove anything. Also, do you have to pay the full fees upfront to qualify for the discount? So no, even if you are on the payment plan, as long as you're in South Africa as well, you would be able to go through that. But you've got to be a student who's studying with us on the TEP package. Then with these bank loans, does it include the money paid to CFA? So yes, in Tutuko, you can do that. You can add your fees to the CFA Institute. Okay, I need classes for level 2. And Tombi, yes, you can actually register. I think we've got a few students who are also interested to start in April. Please do get in touch with me. I'm also going to share my feedback, my contact details in the chat box. I will continue answering the questions in the chat box. Dr. T, you can take over.
Yes, I'm back. Just scroll back. Sorry, I was locked out, but I'm back in. Just scroll back to my questions
Yes.
so I can start answering them.
Yes. Can you see my screen? They are on now.
Yes, it's a bit tiny. Okay, the first one says, can you zoom it out? Can you and let me see. Oh, okay, no, it's fine. It's okay. It's okay. Go back. Okay, yeah, it's fine now. All right, the first one says, as someone planning to pursue my honors degree next year, I would like to know how I can effectively kickstart my career whilst balancing academic studies. What practical steps or strategies would you recommend for someone with an interest in finance and investment to gain relevant experience or to build a strong foundation for CFA? Practical steps, I'm not sure who asked this question. The practical steps, you don't need an honors degree. If you're going to, you say you want to pursue your honors degree next year, I would recommend don't do the two. If you want to pursue your honors degree, I strongly recommend take an honors degree in an area which is heavily biased towards finance and investment. It could be corporate finance, it could be risk management. Take an honors degree in an area which is heavily biased towards finance and investments. The first thing I would recommend is please refrain from trying to study CFA whilst you are doing that honors. Honors is sufficiently challenging. CFA is 3 times more challenging. So alternatively, I'm not sure what honors degree you want to pursue. Once you have your first degree, even if you don't have a first degree, you can go straight and do your CFA. In terms of practical steps, step one, you want to enroll now with the CFA program itself, as it was explained by my colleague Patience. Step two, you want to enroll with CharterQuest, for instance, so you can get your materials. You have seen the timetable when classes are starting, so more or less that's what you are looking at. In terms of gaining relevant experience, CFA is a very, very broad, although it is finance and investment. If you look at the 3-year experience, they allow any experience, even in experience in auditing, any experience which involve you working with numbers. You can be a debtors controller, you could be an investment analyst, you could be, a quantitative analyst, you could be a researcher. As long as you've been working with numbers, that is considered to be relevant experience. So I just thought I must clarify that. The next one says, considering that I initially intended to pursue the CSA route, which requires a cycle-accredited PGA, I'm now exploring the CFA designation. Does it matter which honors degree I pursue in terms of aligning with CFA pathway, or are there specific fields of study that better complement the CFA thing? It matters, right? I would say, obviously, you can go into CFA with no previous background in economics or accounting or finance, right? That you can do. But does it matter? Yes. Obviously, a student who did on a first degree in accounting and finance, or a first degree in investment, or an honors degree in a field that is heavily biased towards accounting and finance would obviously have an advantage. CFA is very rigorous, so any background you already have in that field, okay, risk management, accounting, finance, it obviously would be very, very helpful in you passing your CFA exams first time. I am not saying that if you didn't have a background in accounting and finance, there are people who come purely from an HR background, purely from an IT background, purely from a mathematics background. It doesn't matter. As long as you are passionate about numbers, you love numbers, you can work with numbers. That's why level 1 starts with the very foundation. So it doesn't assume you have any previous knowledge. But yes, any honors degree or any first degree in an accounting or commercial field would obviously give you some advantage. I hope that helps. Question number three. Question number 3, let me just go there. It says, are there any specific certifications, internships, or part-time roles I can pursue before graduating to align myself with CFA? Well, like what I've explained, right? CFA, any qualification that has to do with finance and accounting, any certification, whether it's accounting, whether it's forensic, as long as it has a bias for accounting and finance, any internship, as long as it's got a bias for numbers, whether full-time or part-time, would obviously be of help towards you aligning with CFA, because CFA is basically about finance and investments and numbers, as it were. We can go to question 4. Okay, the question 4 says, go back to question 4.
Oh, sorry about that. There we go.
For someone who is considering pursuing postgraduate studies, such as a master's or a PhD, how does holding the CFA designation impact the need or value of these additional qualifications? Does having the CFA designation diminish the necessity of pursuing further academic studies, or could postgraduate degrees still provide meaningful advantages in finance or investment? I think this is a very good question. Now, CFA itself is regarded as a master's level qualification, because for starters, you need to have a first degree in order to get to CFA. If you have not finished a first degree, you've started the first degree, it helps to start with your CFA. Yes, CFA accepts people who only have work experience without first degree, but the level of rigor of CFA itself is a master's level qualification. So if you're asking whether, if you have CFA, do you still need to have a master's or a PhD level? I would say if you have CFA, there would not be any need for you to go get another master, because CFA itself, what's the point having CFA, which is a master's level qualification in finance, and an MSc in finance? So I would say categorically, if you have a CFA, there is not much need for you to get a master's degree in finance, for instance. Okay, however, going beyond a master's degree, for instance, like a PhD. Now, a PhD is a doctorate, right? It's a very, very advanced, it is much, much beyond a master's degree. So because CFA itself is a master level qualification, what's the point having 2 master's degrees, right? The difference is that one is a master's level degree in a professional field The other one is a master's level degree in an academic field. So there is no point having two master's degree. But if you were to ask me, if I have a CFA, is this still value in having a PhD? Of course, yes. A PhD is a doctorate degree. It is much more advanced than a master's degree. So there would always be that advantage. Whether you want to do that PhD or not, remember that a PhD is more of an academic exercise, right? A doctorate shows that you have a very high level research academic rigor in a particular field. That knowledge might never be relevant for you to apply that practically. Because what you learn in an academic field, perhaps very little of that is applied when you get to, for instance, in the profession, when you apply that professionally. So I would say that if you wanted to pursue an academic career, you wanted to, show that you have advanced research skills, then you might want to do a PhD. But really, once you have your CFA, you don't. In fact, if you have a master's degree, you may still need a CFA to prove to employers that you are a professional. But if you have a CFA, you don't need a master's degree to prove anything. Any employer who knows what is required to excel in the finance profession and the rest, in investments and all the rest, will know that CFA is the king of everything. So I hope that answers your question. The next one says, not a burning question, but which calculator do I buy? CO, did you address the calculator?
Yes, I did. And I've also sent a link in the chat box.
Okay, so I'll skip that one. The next one says, I am currently doing my articles to become a chartered accountant CSA. I want to do my CFA after I'm qualified CFA. Is there a way to accelerate the process of becoming a CFA in terms of relevant job training when you are a qualified chartered accountant now in the near future? The answer is no. There is no way of accelerating it in the sense that CFA does not give exemptions. There are 3 exams you have to write. Whether you come with a master's degree in finance, you come as a CFA, you have to write all those 3 exams, right? So even if you have become a CASA or you have particular experience in investment banking, you still have to write the 3 exams. So you cannot accelerate how fast you become a CFA purely because you are a CSA or you have an MS in finance or you have some relevant job training. 3 years experience is 3 years experience. Maybe where it can give you advantage. If you have a CSA, obviously it's a finance related qualification. So which means you already have an advantage in understanding investment and finance. So instead of studying over 6 months, you might study over 3 months. You find that you are ready to write an exam. So the advantage you get is the relevance that it helps you master the subject. But you still have to write the 3 exams. Okay, so if the 3 exams is going to take you 18 months, you have to go through those 18 months. Another argument could be that if the experience you got as a CA, let's say you're a CA and then you spend for your 3 years articles, right? In your article, you spend 3 months with auditing. Even in auditing, you're working with numbers. You spend 3 months in auditing, maybe you spend 3 months in financial management. Whatever you were doing during your articles, those 3 years, if you can show that during those 3 years articles, you were substantively working with numbers, then you don't need to prove another 3 years experience. You can take the same 3 years experience that you gained when you were doing your articles for CASA. You just need to rearrange that and present it. You can't just go and take your article and say, I've got an ad you sent to CFA. You have to take back the experience. It's like adjusting your CV, right? If you have different jobs, you might have a job, you have 10 years experience, and then you apply for this job, it was emphasizing certain things. So you emphasize certain aspects of your experience. Then you get another job, you have some experience they need, but you did not emphasize in your previous CV. As long as it's a valid experience that you truly had, you can add CV to emphasize that experience. So it's the same thing. You would have to take the qualification, your experience, you rewrite that to emphasize the things that CFA wants to see. So in that way, the 3 years experience you had when you were doing your articles to become a CFA, you don't have to go and do another 3 years. You can take that same 3 years and present that to CFA in the manner that they want. That could help you to fast track. But don't think that they're going to exempt you to say you got experience, you're going to write fewer exams. No, you still have to write the 3 exams. I hope that helps. We can go to the next. Question 7 says, earning potential in South Africa for CSA is moderate and in demand. Okay, I don't know what that means, moderate. We need to know what you mean by moderate. Moderate means 500,000 per year or 300,000. The word is subjective. But anyway, this candidate says earning potential in South Africa for CA is moderate and in demand. Okay, but not much is mentioned that CFAs are in demand in South Africa. Okay, that is true relatively to CSA. That's true. Okay, Google mentions that the earning potential for a CFA is high. True, but it doesn't specify whether the qualification is high in demand. Okay, so this person wants to know, is CFA high in demand? Does this mean that only a small minority of CFAs are earning exceptionally high salaries? Or is the qualification equally in demand, ensuring high salaries across the board? Okay, the reason is simple. CFA is a very specialist qualification, right? I mean, every company needs an accountant. Not every company needs a CFA. So let's put it that way. Every company will need a finance manager, a finance director, and the rest. So a chartered accounting qualification is more broad, right? It's a broad-based qualification in accounting and finance. So if you have to be talking about qualifications, a lot will be said, right? You talk about cars, right? Everybody will talk about Toyota, Audi, BMW. Very few people talk about Bentley, Lamborghini, you know, those top end cars. Okay, so there are cars and there are cars. You can go for 1 year. If you mention about cars, you probably talk about Range Rover, you know, or Mercedes, BMW. You will not hear people talk about Ferrari. You will not hear people talk about Bentley. Very few exceptionally high net worth people go for those cars. But they know those cars are there. The demand is there, but the demand is for very rich people. Okay, so it's the same sort of thing. So when we talk about cars, you talk about chartered accountant. It's a broad. Every company needs accountant. You go to a company, you find they have 5 chartered accountants working in that company. But CFA is a very specialist. It's like a Lamborghini. It's like a Ferrari. It's a very specialist. It's also a car like Mercedes. But you have to go to particular places to find it. Only rich people will be talking about it. You have to subscribe to these very rich people's magazines to be hearing about Lamborghini. If you are buying newspaper, you're reading social media, Facebook, and you will not hear people talk about Lamborghini and Ferrari. You will hear people post their Mercedes, their Toyota. It's that same sort of thing. So yes, you might not hear a lot about demand. So you're wondering, is there even demand for CFAs? Of course, there is demand, big time. The average person, when you're a CFA, okay, versus CSA, you compare them pound for pound, 3 years experience. Let's say you come out, you're a CSA with 3 years experience. Another guy comes out with CFA with 3 years experience. That guy is probably earning more than you, the CSA, by almost 30% higher. Okay, but if you are looking about demand, no, you will not hear much because they are a specialist in investment banking. So you have to be paying attention where rich people are to hear about Ferrari and Lamborghini. If you're not there in that space, you will not hear about it. It's the same thing. You have to be paying attention where investors are talking, analysts are talking, those specialists who are always interested in investing in companies and the rest. When you pay attention there, you will always hear them talking about CFAs. You will not even hear them talk about chartered accountant. So it depends on where you are looking. I can assure you the demand is high. It is not as broad-based as CSA because you are likely looking in the wrong place. I hope that answers your question. Let's go to the next one. Okay, number 8 says, my approach to this discipline begins with building a strong foundation in accounting knowledge, focusing on thoroughly understanding of the accounting standards and various methods of preparing financial statements. Fair enough. This equips me with exceptional insight into interpreting financials, okay? During my articles, I chose to specialize in audit to develop the critical skill of analyzing diverse companies and assessing risks along their potential impact. Moving forward, I am aiming to deepen my understanding of investing, enabling me to make more accurate predictions and well-informed investment decisions. Okay. However, with the rise of AI, that should be artificial intelligence, its increasing capabilities and knowledge base, will this lead to a decline in the significance of this profession? and how will this threat be combated with changes to the curriculum, etc.? Beautiful question. I would say that the rise in AI is pervasive. There is no profession which is free from this. If you go to the legal, even the lawyers are complaining. The quantity surveyors are complaining. Medical doctors are complaining. Accountants are complaining. And investors, investment analysts, it is they are no exception, right? So AI, the evolution, AI is a natural progression of the evolution of information technology. I remember the first time I learned about a computer, a software, using WordPerfect and all the rest. That was back in 1993 or 1992, right? Then we're talking about internet was not even there. Internet only, I mean, it was there in the US. We did not know internet a lot in Africa. We've seen the world evolve, from large computer frames to mini pockets, laptops. Digitization has grown with the advent of mobile technology. Everything has been changing very rapidly, right? Robotics and the rest, everything has been changing. But as far back as 1993, I remember one of my first courses. They were talking about computerized accounting, what we're calling bookkeeping, like bookkeepers taking books and entering large volumes of data into journals. They were talking about now there are softwares. There's Microsoft Excel is going to revolutionize computerized accounting. In 3 years, 5 years, we'll not need bookkeepers anymore. It is 50, 40, almost 35, 40 years after, companies are still hiring bookkeepers, right? The point I'm making is that, yeah, the point I'm making is that yes, computer is there, artificial intelligence is there to revolutionize and change the routine aspects, right? If you go into any field, go to accounting, debit here, credit here, anything that can be put into some logic, computers are going to take it over. I can now take a credit card, I swipe it, the bank is going to receive the money, debit this account, credit that account. That transaction will be performed in 2 seconds, right? 30 years ago, you need three different computers to do that. But have we lost sight of bookkeepers? No. As things are digitized, artificial intelligence comes in. Of course, it changes the way professionals they operate, but what professional bodies they are doing. Okay. Now, for instance, you saw we present to talk about practical skills, right? CFA is saying you must learn now. When we presented, we said you must either do financial modeling or you do Python programming, artificial intelligence. So why is CFA doing that? They are trying to make sure that as you understand the concepts of finance, they will always remain the same. The way they are approached will be different because computers are now doing a lot of the things. Computers artificial makes things faster. It doesn't remove the need for certain things. It just makes you to do things faster, with more efficient, with more precision. At the end of the day, you know about chat GPT and the rest. We can program all types of logic into a computer. A human being still has to read that report, appreciate it, and make decisions. Computers, yes, they will continue to change how we work, but what professional bodies they are doing, one, they are equipping. Every professional body now is equipping digital skills, is making sure that knowledge and of Python, financial modeling itself, you can't do it without using financial modeling software. So one, CFA wants to make sure, one, you become acquainted with using that AI itself to do your financial analysis. Okay, but at the same time, it is bringing more and more soft skills like ethics, professional standards, to make
I
sure
think
that the
we
human
lost
aspects,
Dr.
those
Ntide.
things that computers will never be able to replace, you will still need professionals to be able to deal with that. So that is my long and short. We could go to town on this. It can become a whole topic, but I can assure you that this is not going to is not going to professional. The professional are not going to become useless anytime in the near future. No. So yeah, let's go to the next one. That's number 8. CO, can we go to number 9? Hello, can anyone hear me? Hello, can anyone hear me?
Hello, Dr. Yes, I can hear you. I think she's having challenges. She just logged out. Let me just check up on her.
Okay, sure. All right. Yeah. Are you back? So, can you hear me? Can anyone hear me?
Yes. Sorry, I had lost connection.
Okay, that's fine. I had finished answering question 8. I was requesting you go to question 9 if there is any.
No, we don't have. The second part were my questions. Sorry about
Okay,
that. I had lost connection.
it's fine. So I'm done with the questions on my part. Part B is yours. If there are questions for me, I can hang by it and take them. But part B is yours. You can finish that. Then I'm open for any more questions that we've not addressed. Thank you.
Yes, there was a question in the chat box. Only that now, it locked me out. I've lost the chat, but I saw a question that was relating to question 7. Tinashe, are you able to copy and paste it again in the chat box, or maybe read it aloud?
Yeah, I can copy it. Let me just drop it.
All right. Then I can just get to my questions shortly there.
I see some people have dropped off. I hope we are almost finishing now. Let's not keep people too long.
Okay, the last question is just to add to question 7. How does the CFA designation impact career prospects in South Africa? And what challenges or opportunities exist for CFA candidates in emerging markets like SA?
But that's
So first
exactly what I was
question.
thank you. Thanks for the question. That's exactly what I was presenting at the top of. If you can just scroll back quickly at the top of my slides, um, the challenges are enormous. I mean, I hear you asking emerging markets. The reality is that most of the developed markets, they are all seen as mature markets. If you are looking to build a portfolio and to grow your portfolio, you can find at the time that US is growing by 3%. Emerging markets like China, India, Brazil, they are growing at the rate of average of 6 or 7%. So to the extent that emerging markets are growing very rapidly, investors who are looking for growth, they struggle to find growth in the developed markets, because those markets, they are all mature markets, they are growing much more slowly. So where do they look for this growth? In emerging markets, right? In South Africa, in China, in Brazil, the BRICS countries, right? So if you are looking for growth, this is where they are looking for. And therein lies the opportunity for CFAs, because it is one thing for an investor to say, I've got capital in the US, I want to build an international portfolio by picking on stocks or investment in South Africa. It is something else to analyze the business environment of South Africa. The unique advantage you have is, as investors shift the balance of their portfolios towards emerging markets, of which South Africa is one of the emerging markets. If you are a chartered financial analyst who is based in South Africa, you automatically take precedence. Why? A CFA guy who is in the US understands the US market. Investment is being brought into Africa, but you are a CFA guy who is based in Africa. You are based in South Africa. So you've applied the principles of accounting and finance in the business environment of South Africa, which is an emerging market. So the career prospects are enormous, in the sense that investors are shifting their portfolio to emerging markets, of which South Africa is one of them, and you happen to be a CFA charter holder who is a South African or practicing in South Africa. It almost now means that it puts you at the center. As that capital shifts towards emerging markets, there is also a need for cutting edge experts okay, who understand the African market to be able to give cutting edge advice where to deploy this capital and all the rest. Therein lies your career prospects as a CFA charter holder who is based in an emerging market country. I hope that answers the question. We can go to the next.
All right, thank you. So the next two were on my presentation, and it is about the calculator, which is I have answered. I think we had also duplicated it in on your section. Then there's the next one. What are bursary options? And may we get the quote letter to send to sponsors for the total cost of the course? So yes, you can get a quote, and you also get an acceptance letter where you are able to send this to your sponsor. I will just take you through this process in closing. And in terms of bursaries, we currently don't have any bursaries that relate to the CFA qualifications. If they are there, we communicate with our students on our database from time to time, but as of now, we don't have any CFA bursaries that are available. Dr. Nsi, did you want to say something?
No, I'm covered. Unless there are questions for me, I think I've addressed my part, and it looks like you've addressed your part quite well.
Yes. So just to maybe in closing, if you want to get a quotation to address to your sponsor, let's say your company, they need your invoice their name, their VAT number on our invoice, or maybe you need to apply for a student loan. Just come through to our website, top right, where it says get free codes and enroll. And that's where you are able to get a quotation for your classes. Once you get a quotation, our team will be able to support with the supporting documents that you would need, like your provisional acceptance letter, and maybe your company might need quite a number of things from us. I know there was a question about discounts, so you will need to determine which way you go here. So even if you're asking for a student loan, we need to know so that we can address your acceptance letter accordingly. So I can then select if I am paying fees on my own, and the classes that I'm attending, whether it's online or on campus. So I can choose whether it's online, and the intake that's open now is first semester. Next week, our May and September intakes are going to be open, so students will be able to get their quotations. So those fees that I shared earlier, you would find them also duplicated here. So you can then select whether you want your live stream classes or pre-recorded videos. So these pre-recorded videos will only come with our lecturer notes. They don't come with books. Then we go on to the next. You are able to add your fees to the CFA Institute. Then we will pay the CFA on your behalf. So whether you pay via, your student loan, or maybe you get, you go on our payment plan, we are able to assist. But just know that for us to remit the fees to CFA, we can't do so in installments. Remember, we said you need to pay all at once. So what's going to happen here is that you will pay we will submit this to the CFA once you have paid us this component in full. So we will then go in and say, okay, you will choose whether you want the early registration or the later registration. You need to check on the website in terms of the dates. So level 1, level 2, then we go on to the next. At the end of this process, for online, like I said, we have already discounted our fees. That's why you don't see any discounts. Then you then be able to see, okay, your fees, it's 17,000, and your fees to the CFA is 26,000. That's when you can make a determination how you want to proceed, whether you want to just get a coach or you just want to pay via us, get a bank loan and the like. So the last process is just you putting in your details and then getting a quotation emailed. I'm going to share with you our contact details. On our website, there's the WhatsApp icon. You're able to get in touch with me and even my team. So at any point when you need any support, we'll be here to support you. I'm going to add my contact details again here. So if you need that, I had sent my email address in the chat box as well as I was answering questions. You're able to reach me, our sales team. That's our WhatsApp number and the telephone number should you want to get in touch with us. So on that note, on my side, I would like to thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for engaging with us. It was a very good session. And for those who have sent their messages, thank you so much. Dr. T, I know you indicated that you are done on your side. Very good comments coming in there. Thank you, great session. Thank you, very informative. It's been insightful, and thank you for being a good audience as well. Dr. T, anything in closing?
No, I think I'm covered. Thank you also for setting this up and for drawing me in. I appreciate the interaction. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, and thank you to the team for supporting. Thank you, Tinashe. Thank you, Privilege. And we really look forward to registering most of our students. I'll be engaging with you after this session. So any more questions, we can always take them offline. I know this is quite a lot in terms of, the financial investment you need to make. So I will definitely be hands-on to ensure we support you until the end. Once again, thank you and have a good night. Goodbye.
All right. Cheers, everyone. Bye.